Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys enjoyed the video today. We're going to go through our round 21 tips and predictions. Hopefully we can get a perfect round this weekend. Unfortunately, we were unable to do that last week. 6 out of 7 games, but the Roosters being the only team to let me down, which usually is the case at the moment. The Roosters just can't turn a corner these days, but it is what it is. At least my Warriors got the win, and you know, we just water off a duck's back. We just keep moving on, boys. So before we get into this video, also, I don't have any stats for this week. Again, I'm really sorry about that, but obviously I've had a massive week with my missus' birthday on Monday, so try to spoil her, put a lot of time into her and all that. And then on Tuesday, I had my Warriors talk video. So I was usually I do my stats on Tuesday, so I was unable to really like get around that, get my calculations right and all that sort of stuff. But also, like, I did like the flow of my video last week, so maybe we do continue on. I might put some stats here and there, might do a little bit more breakdowns here and there, but yeah, just see how we go anyway. But if you enjoyed this sort of video, please make sure you like, subscribe, comment down below your thoughts or your tips over the weekend, and let's get straight into the video. First game of the weekend, we got the Dragons versus the Tigers at Wynn Stadium. First of all, with the Dragons coming off a win 36-26 against the Raiders, not last week, the week before. Hunt comes into this lineup, which is a massive in for them for sure, and Dan Russell, Billy Burns are both on their edge back row roles there. Billy Burns has been in and out of the team a couple of times here, but I've seen a lot of Billy Burns. I'm really excited to see how he goes, especially getting that starting edge back row role. I think he had that in the last game as well. Look really damaging on that side as well. So really excited to see how he goes again in this lineup against the Tigers team that's been struggling. Moving on with the Tigers, 34-18 loss against the Knights in a really, like, I don't know how I feel about that game. Honestly, I felt like the Knights should have like slayed them about 60 points. And at one point, you know, Kalen Ponga's kicking didn't really help the Knights because it did look like closer than what it actually was. I think the Knights ran in 3 tries at one point, and when the Tigers ran in one more try, it was like 12-6 at one point, and it was like, how does this happen? Like, how did this happen? But, you know, it is what it is. With the Tigers, Dane Laurie comes back in the lineup at 6. Obviously, they still got Api Coruscant back and all that sort of stuff. So really excited to see the Tigers try to get a win here against a low-strength Dragons team. But I'm going to swing towards the Dragons for the win here. I think the Dragons at home are going to be a little bit too strong. Benny Hunt back in the lineup, and hopefully Junior Amon just keeps killing it at the moment because he's been playing really good at 6 at the moment. So really excited for the Dragons game. Hopefully, you know, the wooden spoon bowl, they all call it. So yeah, going to the Dragons. Next game, we got my Warriors versus the Raiders at Go Meter Stadium. Another home game for my Warriors. Amazing to see there. Friday night game, so a short turnaround, but I do believe in the boys. They're playing amazing football at the moment. With the Warriors, 44-12 win over the Sharkies. If you haven't gone, checked out my Wild Talk video, reviewed of the game and my thoughts overall of, like, you know, our season, how it's going, all that. Go check that out as well. Thank you so much for all your support on my videos too. Nia Corey comes back into this lineup. Joshy Curran and Ciro both drop out of the lineup, out of the side in general. Our bench does consist of Barnett going back to the bench, Lussick, Arlett, and Walker. I'm curious about it, but then again, you know, judging off this whole year in Webby, I trust. So basically, I'm just going to run with it. Even though I've got this, I really, really like Joshy Curran. Like, he's one of my favorite players in our lineup. And then, you know, Ciro has been amazing for us this season too. But this is what depth does. Unfortunately, not everyone can fit in our team. But I'm really excited to see what sort of lineups we come out with. So I do talk about that a little bit more in my Wild Talk video. Go check that out. With the Raiders, 36-26 win over the Dragons. Not last week, the week before. Josh Papali'i comes back into this lineup. Is a big in for the Raiders at the moment as well. They had a really good win over the Dragons, as I said before. Matty Tomoko had an amazing game, so he's definitely a key piece that we need to shut down as a Warriors. My tip for this game, obviously I'm going the Warriors. You know me, I'm not really going to sway away, but, you know, I do feel like the Raiders are going to turn up for this game, especially, you know, the way we spoiled their party for Jared Croker's 300th game. So I do think the Raiders are going to come across the ditch and really want to put it against us at home. So hopefully the boys can really hold sturdy and get another nice win here. Moving on to with the Rabbits versus the Broncos at Sunny Coast Stadium. So first of all, with the Rabbitohs, 36-22 loss against the Doggies. Not last week, the week before, but they had all their stars out. So usually, you know, I'm not going to hold that against them. The Doggies were really up for that game, getting a new key signing or whatever with Toby Sexton, who's unfortunately out this week as well due to a head knock and all that. But all their stars come back into this lineup. LATRELL is definitely back in this one as well, which is a massive in. Obviously, Cookie, Cam Murray, Campbell Graham, like all those boys are back in this one. Tane Milne takes over Munro's spot, which is pretty unfortunate, even though, like, I really like watching Munro play at the moment. He's really mature for his age, especially, you know, I can see why he's jumped up the grades so quickly, but then again, with young pieces like this, I do understand why they are resting him and all that, going with the more experienced piece of Tane Milne, but you could also see maybe a suspension in his future, so maybe Munro will be the next one up, who who knows? So really excited to see how that goes. And Jai Arrow comes back from injury. So one of my favorite players to watch, Jai Arrow. He's just a real competitor. So good to see him back in this lineup. With the Broncos, 44-24 win over the Doggies with a lot of star out. So amazing performance. Basically, you know, the opposite of what I said with the Rabbitohs one. You know, they had a lot of stars out in this one, the Broncos, and, you know, Haas, Carrigan, Walshy are all back into this lineup. Should be really nice breath of fresh air for the Broncos, especially coming off the big win last week without him. Selwyn Cobbo playing a lot of in the middle football and all that. So really excited to see him back on his edge and trying to get a couple of meaties off the edge of Walshy in that. But it's going to be a very, very tough test. Sunny Coast is Rabbitohs' home ground, even though it's in Queensland. I don't know which way I'm going to go. This one's 50-50 for me as well because two big powerhouse clubs at the moment. And I'm going to go the Rabbitohs. I think the Rabbitohs would just be a little bit too strong, especially, you know, they just got a little bit more fire across the park at the moment with everyone coming back. It's just really up to how LATRELL comes back. If he's not, you know, fully fit and firing with that calf injury or because, you know, they're still carrying Taff on the bench. So who knows whether he's going to be full strength and play a full game. But, you know, I think LATRELL's going to be all good, so Rabbitohs. Next up, we got the Titans versus the Roosters at Seabus Stadium. With the Titans, obviously coming off a loss, pretty disappointing loss last week, 25-24 against the Eels. If there's any game to be disappointed in, I think the last week's game against the Dolphins, I felt like that was the right call. It's just like, you know, the ref had the balls to say it. And this one, I would be more pissed off now. It's like this call could have gone your way. A lot of calls didn't go your way due to the double sin binnings, which were proper sin bins in my opinion. So this one was a bit more of a controversial one than the Dolphins one in my opinion. So I'd be a lot more like mad about this game than what I was the last one because I felt like the referee's decisions was swayed a lot from what happened with the Eels in the first half and being at home. That crowd was really swaying a whole lot of things. But, you know, not a lot really didn't go your way. Like the Gutho try was a try, this and that. But it was just more so the fact of like, you know, the offside calls off, you know, Regan Campbell-Gillard was getting called off a marker and he didn't really stop his run till about 5 to 10 out. Yeah, just a couple of things didn't really go your way, but it is what it is. I'll be a bit more disappointed. No Tino coming into this game, suspended for 3 weeks. Clark goes into that 13 role. Isaac Liu comes into that front row role with Big Mo. Really, really disappointing to see Tino out for 3 weeks, especially for my Supercoach team. But, you know, hopefully this is what the Titans need to change. Like, hopefully they can hold into this contest against a Roosters team that isn't really humming at the moment. But I would also say, moving on with the Roosters, that they have got a whole lot of key backs in. So Teddy is back, obviously. Suliti goes back to a wing. That team just, like, it looks so much better on paper at the moment now. You know, coming off a big loss against the Melbourne Storm, 30-16. To be fair, in that first half, they looked really, really good. Like, you know, 6-4, they held it really close. They just kind of got blown out towards the second half, and the Storm are really good at doing that these days. So my tip for this game, I'm going to go the Roosters. I think the Roosters are just going to be too strong with no Tino there. I think, you know, their forward pack through the middle is going to be a little bit too strong. I don't, you know, Big Mo can hold it up against Jared, but no one else, for me, other than Dave Fafita, can really hold up with anyone else. Everyone else is kind of like, you know, they do really amazing work, but they're just not at the level as what, you know, when I give my eye across the park, I think the Roosters is just going to be a little bit too strong for them. It's really unfortunate. I think it's going to be a close game because of that C-bus, but yeah, I'm going to tip the Roosters. Next up, we got the Knights versus Storm at McDonald Jones Stadium. With the Knights, 34-18 win over the Tigers last week. KP only kicking 3 of 7, and it really, like, you know, early on in this game, that's the reason why it really looked closer than what it actually was, in my opinion. But then again, you know, I really did think that they should have kept attacking the well of that left side. You know, Kalen Ponga had it, just the ball on a string that whole time. Could have gone up to like 60 points, who knows. No massive changes from that game. And with the Storm as well, there's no massive changes with them as moment either. 30-16 win over the Roosters as well. They were up 6-4 at halftime and just blew them out in the second half. So my tip for this game, obviously, is just going to be really like, you know, the Melbourne Storm, they're in form at the moment. I think the Knights are actually playing a lot better than what people are giving credit for. I think they're actually a very strong attacking team these days. Defensively, you know, 18 points last week against the Tigers team is like, yeah, see how we go. But, you know, I think their attack's really good. But the Storm, I think the Storm are just going to be a little bit too strong. Next up, we got the Cowboys versus the Eels at Townsville. With the Cowboys, 19-8 win over Manly, but this could have been an absolute thumping. When I was watching this game, I couldn't believe Manly were hanging on the way they were. So that's all credit to Manly more so. But, you know, I felt like the Cowboys were just like stripping them through the middle. Just what Scotty Drinkwater pops up on every part of the park. You know, Valentine Holmes just pops out of nowhere. Tommy Dearden's in some rare form at the moment. They're all playing amazing football. And when you have Jason Tamalolo coming off the bench, that is just a whole different football side at the moment. And it's so good to see coming into the final series. And one thing I'm really proud of and really happy with is my Warriors team actually beat them 2 times in a row early on in the season when they were having troubles. We don't have to play them anytime up until maybe the final series. So really, really do like that they don't really stunt our run because, yeah, I think the Cowboys are on a massive run at the moment. Moving on with the Eels, 25-24 win over the Titans. 2 sin bins, so they were down to 11 players. Regan Campbell-Gillard is now gone for 4 weeks with the knees in the back, which is pretty unfortunate. I think it was just a lazy movement from him. It looked really, really bad in slow motion, but when you actually watched it in game time, for me, it would just look like a lazy motion. Pretty unfortunate there, but as I said in the Titans review, like little thing there, I felt like, yeah, the Eels, they had a big sway in the crowd in the second half due to the 2 sin bins. When obviously in that game you see 2 sin bins, the crowd's going to react the way they are. And the ref is, of course, like as a human being, he wants to kind of equal it out. And unfortunately, it was to the Titans' deficit. So my tip for this game, I'm going to go to Cowboys at home. I think the Cowboys are just in rare form at the moment. It's just really crazy to see. So, yeah. And unfortunately, Regan Campbell-Gillard being out, I feel like that's a big key out, especially for the middle. I think they can cover it. They got Ryan Madison and all those boys for, off the bench, Joe O. But I also just think the Cowboys, just the strength for the middle is just going to be way too strong. Next game up, we got the Panthers versus the Doggies at Bluebet Stadium. First of all, with the Panthers, 24-14 win over the Dolphins, where they had most of their origin outs, or pretty much all their origin out. Nathan Cleary is back in this lineup, is definitely a massive return. Plus, add all their origin key ins. Obviously, you know, really, really excited to see Nathan Cleary back off injury and how this Panthers team can continue all the way to the finals. They are amazing. They're just incredible. Moving on with the Doggies, 44-24 loss against the Broncos. They were up for some moments of this game, but obviously another disappointing loss, conceding 44 points against the Broncos that had a lot of outs. But Viliami Kickout has been named in reserve, so possible return for him and Fleno at 7. So pretty interesting to see there. Obviously, you know, Toby Sexton going down pretty early in that Broncos game. Well, not pretty early, like in that first half of that Broncos game. And the Broncos just ran a whole lot of points through them in the second half there. So my tip for this game, unfortunately, I'm going to go to Panthers. If you're a Doggies fan, I wouldn't, yeah, this could get ugly. If Viliami Kickout comes back, maybe that can really hold you in this contest, but yeah, it's just going to be really, really tough to see, I think. And lastly, the Sharkies versus Manly at PointsBet Stadium. Obviously, the Sharkies are talk of the town at the moment. 44-12 loss against the Warriors. Unfortunately, not being able to get too many wins over a top 8 team this year or last couple of years. So the coaches made massive changes. Connor Tracy comes in, Trindle comes in, Talakai goes to the bench, and Moylan completely drops out of the side. There is talk that maybe it wasn't because he's just getting dropped and that he's getting rested, but we can all see the writing on the wall at the moment, I really do think. Jesse Colquhoun comes in for a Teague Wilton injury. So Teague Wilton did his knee in the Warriors game, unfortunately. I do love Teague Wilton as a player. Hopefully he recovers really well. But Jesse, I've seen a little bit of his game, not too much. I can't really comment too much on it. Obviously, you know, we saw last week that Wade Graham came onto that edge and finished out the game. We didn't see much of, we saw a little bit of Jesse, but more so through the middle. I am curious to see how he goes, especially in that edge back row role. And I'm not 100% on, I know a lot of people are 100% on Trindle and Tracy. Obviously, Tracy, I think Tracy's amazing. Trindle, I feel like, you know, he's I don't know how much, obviously he will be a little bit better than Moylan in defense, but I feel like just far in the season to make massive changes like that, even though I think they needed to, unfortunately, it's just, it doesn't look, I don't know how it's going to look. More so, maybe for this game, they'll look really good, but it's just to fill out the season, and it's the connections between two players, because I would argue in attack, obviously the defensive side is probably a big problem, obviously, but in attack, the connections and the combination of Moylan and Hines is just absolutely amazing, whether Trindle and Hines can actually get that combination back up and running again. So I'm very curious to see how the Sharkies go in this one, especially, you know, just big key changes of a whole lot of media scrutiny. So yeah, really, really crazy to see how it goes here. And we're Manly, obviously a 19-8 loss against the Cowboys, as I spoke about before, but I would credit Manly. No massive changes this week, so I will talk about Manly a little bit, but I would credit Manly with that last game against the Cowboys where 19-18, and it did look like, you know, for a key period there, Cowboys were running through them. They were getting to all different spots on the field. They were relentless, but the score stayed 19-8, and I do got to credit the Manly Seagulls with that. Like, you know, their defensive, to hold into the game like that, especially, you know, on the eye test, the Cowboys were on that night. They were on. So really do got to credit Manly there. But with my tip, this one's going to go 50-50. As I said before with the Sharkies, I don't know how this Trindle thing's going to go. Obviously, Trindle's a great player. I've seen in New South Wales Cup. But I think people are bigging up his defensive side of things when I don't think he's that great of a defensive player either. So I'm curious to see how that goes there. But I'm 50-50 on this game. I'm going with the Sharkies. I'm going to go with the Sharkies. I think they're going to have a good game this week, but how they go for the rest of the season, I'm very, very curious. So yeah, guys, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please make sure you like, subscribe if you do. Comment down below your tips and predictions from the weekend. Thank you so much for your support, guys. Have a great weekend. Take it easy. Peace out.